Hi guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today, boy, oh boy, do I have a dessert for you guys. If you love baklava, you're gonna love these little individual baklava phyllo cups that are gonna be perfect to serve ice cream with. I'm actually gonna call this recipe baklava ice cream cups, but you can use them to fill them with anything. So we're gonna go over the ingredients and then we're gonna get started. For the syrup, you're gonna need some water, some granulated sugar, and a cinnamon stick with some vanilla extract. You can also use orange blossom water or rose water. Then you're gonna need some melted butter, a little bit of orange juice, some phyllo pastry, and then for the filling, we're gonna need some ground toasted almonds and cinnamon. So in my pot, I have sugar, water, the cinnamon stick, and a little bit of orange juice. Just a little squeeze, about a tablespoon or so will do. You can also use lemon juice. Now, the phyllo pastry. The best phyllo to use for this recipe is the regular phyllo that's commonly sold in supermarkets. If you get phyllo that has numbers on it, it's the number 4. They're the very thin sheets, not the country phyllo. We're gonna wait for the syrup to be ready, and that should just take a few seconds. So once it boils, I'm just gonna give it a stir, and as soon as the sugar dissolves, I'm gonna take it off the heat. And then I'm just gonna add the vanilla extract. If you're using orange blossom extract, you can put that in instead, or you could even add rose water, a teaspoon, to substitute the vanilla. And I'm gonna set this aside because it needs to cool completely. So the syrup is ready. You wanna make sure that the syrup is completely cooled, and you can make this a week ahead before you're gonna make these, and once it cools down, store it in a mason jar or any airtight container in your refrigerator, and you could use it nice and cold straight out of the refrigerator to pour on the baklava cups when they come out of the oven in a little bit. So now what we're gonna move on to is just mixing up the filling. So it's basically just cinnamon and toasted almonds, and then ground up toasted almonds. But you can use any nuts that you have on hand, any nuts that you like, or any combination of nuts. You could use pistachios, walnuts, pecans, a combination of all of those, whatever you like. So I'm just gonna put this aside now. And then you're definitely gonna need a muffin tin. Without a muffin tin, you won't be able to make these. So I have a 12-cup muffin tin because we're making 12 little baklava cups, and you're just gonna wanna brush them with some of this melted butter. That is ready to go. So all we're gonna need is 6 sheets of phyllo pastry. You wanna make sure that they're thawed out and at room temperature. So if you've been following this channel, I made so many things with phyllo pastry, and I've said this a million times, but I will say it again. Phyllo is sold frozen in the freezer section of the supermarket. You're not gonna be able to work with it if it's frozen. So once you get it, store it in your refrigerator. It thaws out. It takes 24 hours to thaw out in the refrigerator overnight. And then you're gonna wanna take it out an hour or two before you're ready to use it. Leave it at room temperature, keep it in its packaging, and then it's gonna be so simple and easy to use. We're gonna take 1 sheet at a time, like that. We're gonna drizzle some butter on it. And I'm actually gonna brush it. I'm gonna brush the butter, taking care not to rip it. And then I'm gonna take some of this nut mixture and sprinkle it all over the surface. It's about a tablespoon and a half or so is what you're gonna need. Now, if you wanna leave the nuts out, that's fine too. You can definitely make this without nuts. You can definitely make this without nuts, especially if you're doing it for a party and you're serving it to people that have nut allergies. Maybe do half with nuts and make another batch without nuts. And you can just sprinkle some cinnamon sugar in between, and that'll be good too. So now I'm just gonna continue to do this. I'm gonna brush butter and sprinkle some of these seeds of these cinnamon nuts on every layer, except for the final layer, which is gonna be the 6th layer, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. So now here's the 6th sheet, the last and final one. I'm gonna just brush butter on top of this one. It's not gonna get any nuts because it's gonna be the top layer, and if I were to sprinkle nuts on top of it, they would burn while they're baking in the oven in the little muffin tray. So just brush butter all around, and then before you do anything else, put this phyllo dough that you're not going to be using away, or at least temporarily wrap it in a kitchen towel or in some plastic wrap. And I'm going to get to this later. This can just be wrapped up in plastic later on and then just store it in your refrigerator until you're ready to use it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into 12 equal squares. They're going to be 4 inches all around on each side. And it's just that easy to make these little squares. Now we're just gonna transfer them into our muffin tin. So take each square and just nestle it into the muffin cups. And press the bottom down. And then I'm just going to take any remaining butter and just brush the sides. And then just take a toothpick and poke some holes in the center. This is going to help keep the bottoms flat. So my baklava cups are ready to go in the oven. The oven is preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. They're going to go in the center rack for between 10 to 15 minutes. At the 10-minute mark, you want to go in and take a look at them just to make sure they're not browning too fast. If your oven is very strong and they are browning a little fast, just reduce the temperature to 350 degrees and take them out as soon as they're nice and golden. I'll show you what they look like as soon as they're done. As soon as your phyllo cups come out of the oven, this is what they're going to look like. They're going to be perfectly golden brown, and it took my oven 15 minutes for them to be like this. You're going to actually start to smell it. It's going to smell really nice in your house. As soon as they come out, pour the syrup on top of each one. Make sure the syrup is cooled. You want cool syrup on the hot pastry so they stay nice and crisp. So if there are still some puffy parts in the center, go ahead and poke them with the toothpick to kind of flatten it out a little bit. And make sure you get the tips too. Now these are going to sit in the muffin tin for a little while, just until they absorb all the syrup. And then I'm going to take them out and put them on a cooling rack until they're completely cooled down. And then that should take about another 15 more minutes, and then we're going to move on to filling these with some yummy ice cream. You're going to want to make sure that you put them on a rack, and underneath that rack you have a pan to catch the drippings, because a lot of the excess syrup is going to drip to the bottom. If any of them have a little bit too much syrup still in the center, just go ahead while you're putting them on the rack and pour the syrup out into the muffin tin, or you can pour it over the ones that look like a little bit like they need some syrup around the edges. But look at how beautiful they look. They're crisp. You want to make sure that they cool down completely. And it literally just takes about 15-20 minutes for them to come to room temperature, especially if it's chilly outside and you put them by a window. But if not, just wait. It's going to take a little while, and it's going to be worth the wait, I promise. You can take these as they are and fill them with ice cream, with berries, chocolate, pastry cream. I mean, you can get as creative as you want. You can make these a day ahead of serving them. So if you do make them a day ahead, store them in an airtight container. We are just going to go ahead and fill one with ice cream because I can't wait any longer. Let me take this one right here. Put in my little plate. Now my favorite way to serve these is with vanilla ice cream, and then I like to top it with some Greek sour cherry preserves. They're my favorite preserves. And then some salted ground pistachios. I mean, that combination is to die for. So I have my preserves over here. They're sweet, they're a little bit tangy, and then the saltiness from the ground pistachios. Not to mention that beautiful color. Take a look at this. Just look at that. I mean, go ahead and serve this to anyone and just make their day. They're going to feel so special. I'm about to start drooling, so I'm going to go ahead and take a bite. I should also say that you can use any ice cream that you like, whatever your favorite is, butter pecan, whatever, pistachio, any ice cream that you like, go ahead and fill it in there. Ooh, can you hear that crispiness? Okay, here we go. Oh my goodness. I'll take another bite with the sour cherry. So decadent. You get the crispiness from the phyllo, the cinnamon and the toasted nuts just add so much warmth and flavor and texture. And then the creamy cold ice cream is just like the cherry on top. And in this case, we do have a cherry on top. We have a sour cherry on top. It's delicious. I hope you guys give it a try. The written recipe, as always, is in the description box down below, as well as on the website. www.dimitrasdishes.com is where you want to go over and get it. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you serve these or how you're planning on serving these. And if you'd like to learn how to make savory versions of this, post in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I'll see you all next time. Yes,